Do you notice thoughts in your mind that are really critical? Thoughts that you tell yourself that you wouldn't dream of saying to another person? If so, this video is for you. I am going to share with you a 4-step process on how to create a different way of thinking. I'm Donna, this is Let's Call It a Journey. So there are 2 theories of the self-critic and why we have it. The first one is evolution-based, and it is that we develop the self-critic to help us not make the same mistake over and over again. The second theory is that somebody else gave us that thought, and I'm more inclined to align myself with that one, although I'd also agree with the evolution-based theory to an extent. But what I found in my clinical practice and personal life is the way my and other people's self-critic has worked is that it's been based on something that somebody else has told them or said to them when they were younger. So for example, if they've been told they're useless or I don't know, too fat, too skinny, too stupid, that has an effect on us, and unfortunately we don't ditch all the things, the unhelpful things we learn in childhood, and we can download them and get rid of them when we're 18 and we suddenly become an adult, although I'm still waiting for that. What happens is we go into adulthood with all those beliefs. So that theory is we are given that thought by somebody, maybe a parent, a teacher, family member, sibling, friend, bully, somebody that's in our life around that time, and we carry it with us and we repeat it. And then it becomes a belief, because a belief is just a thought we keep thinking over and over again. And once it's a belief, it's really difficult to get rid of. And we don't focus on getting rid of it to make us feel better, because it just doesn't work. So whichever theory you align yourself with, it's worth remembering that they both switch on the stress response. And the chemicals associated with the stress response are cortisol and adrenaline. And when these chemicals are released, we do feel stressed and anxious. So whichever theory, whether the evolution or that somebody else gave it to you, whichever theory you kind of align with, both of them switch on the stress response. So both of them trigger that chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline. And if the stress response has been triggered by our self-critic, there's only one way to change that, and that is changing the narrative of the way we speak to ourselves in our own mind. So when we talk to ourselves in a kind, more friendly way, it has a wonderful effect on our nervous system. Specifically, it switches on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite to the stress response. So I've called it in a previous video the rest, relax and digest response. And when that's on, it stimulates chemicals that make us feel happier, calmer, like serotonin, sometimes called the happy hormone, and also oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone. So how do we do it? It's really simple. I'm going to share 4 steps with you on how to do this. But first, I just want to let you know that if the kinder and more friendly we are to ourselves, wherever we're at in life, whatever our relationships look like, whatever our job looks like, whatever our friendships look like, our home, our pain levels, changing that narrative will only ever make us feel better. And that's because it stimulates those 2 chemicals, oxytocin and serotonin, in our body. So I'm going to share with you these 4 steps and how you can start to change that narrative. Number 1, create a more kind, friendly way of talking to yourself. Perhaps it's I'm lovable, or I'm worthy, or I'm good enough, something like that. You don't have to believe it. A 2-3% belief in that will do for now. It's fine. Number 2, write it down. See it in black and white. Put it in your phone. Number 3, create momentum. So we want to make sure that gathers so much momentum that we can't help but not believe it, and that 2-3% belief starts to climb up. And the way we do that is, or the best way I've ever found to explain this is, if a car's at the top of a hill and we bump it slightly, it will move a little bit, but we can stop it really easily. What we want to do is we don't want to stop it. We want to push it and we want to let it really gather momentum. And what that does is it starts to fire those neurons in our brain. And if we fire them, they'll wire together. So whatever fires together, wires together in the brain. So we need to create that momentum to let that just go. And the way we do that is make sure that we go back to that written thought on our phone, or perhaps post-it notes around the house, on the kettle, on the shower door, on the front door, in your car. Perhaps there's a card that you've written it on in your wallet that you look at through the day. It's making sure that numerous times throughout your day you repeat that thought as many times as you can to create that momentum. And then step 4 is keep doing it. So you probably aren't going to notice a massive difference in a day or two. You might even feel a bit silly doing it. I practice all this, and sometimes, definitely in the beginning, felt really silly doing some of them. But they only ever serve to make us feel better because they stimulate much happier chemicals in our body. And that's what we're doing here. So remember those 4 steps. You write it, create it, write it, let it gather momentum, and then keep doing it. Please let me know how you get on in the comments below. I will see you next Sunday. Have a great week. Take care.